So Paradise, this is a brand new sort of political thriller science fiction television series that aired just the past few weeks on Hulu. This is the introduction, the first season of this series created by Dan Fogelman. If you don't know Dan Fogelman, you probably should. He is one of the more successful creators in the television medium of the past, I would say 15 to 20 years, because he is most known for creating This Is Us, one of the most popular shows that aired on television throughout the 2010s and wrapped up a couple of years ago. And this is, of course, reuniting Dan Fogelman with Sterling K. Brown, who was a part of the ensemble for This Is Us, but who is now leading the show in Paradise, again, that just wrapped up on Hulu. And this is a show that I sort of mentioned last week, and I think one of the highlights of the show is how it did grow over the course of its run. It sort of remained true to, I think, what good TV can do, and the fact
Mhm.
that maybe not a lot of people know about it to begin with, but over the course of its run, if it's good enough and if it captures people's attentions enough, people will start to talk about it. And before long, I would say by the middle of the season, I saw a lot of people talking about Paradise and really reacting to the episodes and eagerly anticipating the next episode. There's a lot of twists and turns, of course, as it is sort of a sci-fi drama that takes place in a different sort of weird alternate universe, and there are political elements dealing with the president. There's a lot of things happening within Paradise, and so we're just gonna sort of react to what the first season gave us in terms of a story. Now that they have greenlit a second season, and so now with all of that out of the way, man, I'll pass it to you. What did you think about this opening debut season of Paradise?
Paradise does I think a really good job of mixing the murder mystery, like you said, with the sci-fi. And it's of course a little bit of action, very political thriller that you would expect. And it's such an interesting series because I think it does a lot of things you've seen before, but it does them really well. It does this thing where it's flipping between past and present of what's happening. It does this thing where you're made to feel for a family or certain characters, and it has a lot of twists in it that go back and forth. And I think it makes for some good TV, man. I think there's some cheesy parts in this show, but again, I like the twist. I like the back and forth between past and present. I think James Marsden and Sterling K. Brown were absolutely fantastic in the show. And in fact, that was my draw to watch it. I'm like, Sterling K. Brown's in it. Sign me up. I need to watch this thing. One of my favorite actors right now. And so, man, this is a show that honestly it's kind of really hard to talk about sometimes because it's so spoilery. There are so many twists. There are so many turns. But I think what also makes it good is not only the performances but the tension that the show is able, I think, to create in this world, man. There's always something going on, and your eyes are always going to different places trying to figure out and learn the mystery. And I think what can make or break shows like this for me is guessing the mystery, like knowing exactly what's going to happen, knowing, hey, this thing is this thing is this. And that happens often for me, but this show did a good job of, I think, subverting my expectations, me not knowing what was going on. I think they did really good with some of that stuff, man. So it's a really good show. I appreciate it. I will say, I don't think I'm as high on it as everybody else is. I think it is a really good, solid show, and I think that's fine. Some people are like, oh my God, this TV show is saving TV. I think we need to calm down with some of those things. I don't agree with that. I do think it's really good. I do think it's really solid. I do think it's worth following, and that season 2 will also, a lot of eyeballs will be on season 2 as well. But yeah, for what it's worth, I enjoy it, man. I think Hulu has another pretty good show in their hands.
I mean, it's a Dan Fogelman show. It's easy to
Yeah.
consume. It is entertaining. You're likely never to be bored by it just due to the talent in front of and behind the camera. But he knows how to give, I think, easy to consume entertainment that is largely built on, well, what's going to happen next? What is the twist
Mhm.
going to look like? What are the revelations that we have to ultimately see? It hooks you in. And
Yeah.
and to be honest, that's what a lot of TV should probably try to get back to. I think a lot of
Mhm.
streaming television that we've gotten over the past, I would say in particular, 6 to 7 years, they rely on the serialization of those moments. That's become the popular form of entertainment. But to be honest with you, many of those shows just aren't good enough to maintain that sort of attention grabbing, that attention grabbing emotion that you want on a week to week basis,
Mhm.
especially if they're asking you to binge something. I mean, it's a lot of investment to put in, hours of time to watch a season of television. And so I will give them credit for making it a show that you want to return to, considering
Yeah.
just all the crazy stuff that happens, because there are many, many things that this show is going after. And to be honest, it can almost become too much at times because it is somewhat of a murder mystery. We are dealing with political things. This is like a doomsday show. It's very
Mhm.
post-apocalyptic in that nature as well. There's all sorts of covert secret things going on behind the scenes. There's conspiracy and suspicion and ulterior motives, just all sorts of stuff that I do think at times can become unwieldy. But at the end of the day, it does just become quite an entertaining show that is easy to watch. And it's really commanded by the performance of Sterling K. Brown. He's really the reason, I think, to watch his show, because he's getting this opportunity to really lead the show and put it on his back and be the focal point. And he's always just super good. And he gives somewhat of a reserved performance, I think, when necessary. But when the emotion needs to come out and you need to see him really take command of the screen and the material, he shows up in the ways that you need him to show up. The dynamic between him and James Marsden is really good. Julianne Nicholson is also really, really terrific
Mhm.
in the show as well. So the talent in front of the camera, they carry it, because with this type of material in I think lesser actors' hands, it wouldn't be anywhere near as good as it is. But the fact that you do
Mhm.
have these really, really talented television actors in particular who know how to elevate this material, I think that's what makes it special. But there's a lot going on here, and at times you have to suspend a lot of disbelief, and it can become very cheesy and very, I want to say, sometimes formulaic in terms of what you might expect out of things to happen. And one of the drawbacks that I don't particularly like with the show is something that you called out. It's the flashback nature of the story. I'm just never a fan of stories that take place in two timelines, like we're flashing back
Mhm.
and forth constantly. When you deploy it at the moments that it means something, I'm fine with that. But knowing that that's the structure of the show, we're
Mhm.
consistently spending time in the past as well as the present. I just don't like that. That's just not. It's just. I think it's somewhat of a crutch that a lot of shows tend to use, especially when you're trying to fill in motivations and backstory. It just feels, at times it kind of feels a little bit lazy to me. So that's one of my big drawbacks of the show, but I have to get used to that because that's obviously going to be around for
Mhm.
probably the duration of what the story is going to be. But beyond that, this is something I did enjoy. It's a okay, pretty decent show. And in terms of just it being a political thriller and sort of fulfilling that promise, and also being a sci-fi dystopian post-apocalyptic type of story, it kind of checks all those boxes when it needs to, and kind of impressively so, considering that those are many different genres, many different tones
Yeah.
and styles that it's going after. But it's pretty impressive at how they're able to kind of juggle all of that stuff over the course of this first season. And so it was no surprise that they got the green light for season two. This did become immensely popular over the course of its run, and I imagine this is probably going to be one of Hulu's next big, hugely popular shows, especially
Mhm.
knowing that The Bear is about to wrap up and Only Murders in the Building. I don't know how long that's going to go. They've already had
Mhm.
4 seasons. So I think that Hulu kind of needs that next big pillar show that's going to
Yeah.
stand alongside Shogun, because frankly, everybody's not going to be watching Shogun. That's just it's a
Mhm.
tough show to get into. This is a much easier show to just get into that I think the
For
masses will
sure.
probably gravitate towards, as long as it continues to build that momentum and build the story. So we'll see the story of Paradise and how it unfolds over the course of the next season, and if it gets any additional seasons after that. But folks, those are all of our thoughts on the brand new Hulu series Paradise. If you checked out any of season one, hit us up and let us know what you think about it.